An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communications sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Let me first.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Thank you and welcome to Good Morning Uganda Extra. My name is Jagana Semakola Ziksoka on yet another very good day. It is a Monday and this day is the 11th of April in this year 2022. Now 11th of April is another very memorable day in the history of Uganda. For those of you who have been here and lived here, you know what 11th April 1979 means. And of course, on the 11th of April last year, we had a visiting head of state, Mama Samia Hassan Suluhu, who came to Uganda to actualize the ECOP and of course the oil programs with His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, before getting to what we saw in February this year at the signing of the FID. Now 11th of April is another day that Ugandans also need to remember very, very much. Now joining me in studios this morning is the ambassador, Uganda's ambassador to Ethiopia and Djibouti, and a permanent representative at the African Union, Mama Rebecca Amuge Otengo. You are very welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning and happy to have you.
I'm happy to be here once again. And good morning to my viewer. I always told you that my sister, whom I follow, is an English teacher. And she never allows me to say good morning to viewers. That you address each viewer individually.
Viewer. Exactly.
So you say good morning to my viewer.
Because that one viewer eventually make them 1 million viewers.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mama, for joining me. And I'm happy to have you here. You've been in Uganda for some time now, from the mission in Addis Ababa, and you came to be part of sending off Jacob Lokori-Oulanyah.
Yes, I was in Uganda for our retreat as the ambassadors
at Chankwanzi,
the heads of mission.
Okay.
And immediately I went back. We got this very sad news. So I really had to come back for the ceremonies and the burial ceremony that took place in Lalogi, Omoro. And somehow I missed out in Kololo because I went to the secretariat. I took my COVID test, but there was a missing link of accreditation where the results went. But still I was part of the ceremony in Kololo through the the
Through
media,
TV.
the TV,
Very
and
good.
I would like to thank you, UBC, for the great job you did to honor our speaker, the late Honorable Jacob Olanya Lukori. We call him Ladit, so we call him Jacob Olanya Lukori Joel. So I would like to say thank you to you.
Okay, very good, Mama. Let's have this a very short video that we had at the embassy in Addis Ababa when you had the news, and of course the different persons there and the diplomats who came to condole with Uganda for the loss of Jacob Olanya. Let's first have that.
Oh, Uganda, may God uphold thee. We lay our future in thy hand. United, free for liberty, together we'll always stand. Oh, Uganda, the land of freedom, our love and leather we'll give, and with neighbors all and our countries calling peace and friendship we live.
Well, thank you very much. Now, Mama, that was some of the work at the embassy at mission in Addis Ababa. All the people there. Talk about the Olanya that you know. We didn't have an opportunity with you before burying Olanya, but just before we let you go back to the mission in Addis Ababa, I think it's just prudent that we also give you an opportunity. As we said bye-bye to Jacob Olanya on a Friday, we'll just continue. Remember Jacob Olanya for who he was, his remains will now lay to rest. And let's hear from you the Olanya that you personally knew.
I first met Jacob in Dr. Obote College.
Boroboro.
Yes, I'd come from St. Catherine, and he had come from Laibi.
St. Joseph's.
Yes. What put us together was the fellowship. The Olanya I knew at the first instant was a born-again Christian. So we shared the fellowship. I knew him as a good worship leader. He could lead the praise, and he could preach. The difference.
No wonder he loved dancing bola.
Yes, and he used really to dance during the fellowship, during the praise session. The difference between me and him that I later learned was that Jacob was a liberal Christian. He would still interact easily with others. I don't know whether I called myself that time a fundamentalist or radical.
Or a conservative.
Or a conservative coming from the Bazukulu,
Bazukufu.
Bazukufu.
Coming from the Bazukufu Christian.
Yes, exactly. And he was able to to tell and explain to the fellowship. He wasn't under the law. That's why I call him a liberal Christian. He was under the grace. Because he would miss fellowship and he would come back to explain. He could say I was for the debating club and all that. And he was this person that had all the friends from all levels, A level, O level, and even amongst the very young people. He was a pillar for the debating club that time. You know, the schools were very strong. That time we had very strong secondary schools. I'm speaking about Layibi, where I had come from, Sir Samuel Becker, Dr. Obote College,
Satito
Winyi, Lango College,
Komboni College.
and you would stake your best. And you would find all the students from senior 1 standing to cheer Jacob getting into the lorry to go and debate on behalf of Dr. Obote College. That was the person that we're speaking about. Remember that time already there was instability in northern Uganda. We got a bit scattered. Some had come from Kampala, and we had to revert again to our schools back home. And some had to they kept on moving in and out the school. We also lost some students in that civil war. I remember we lost some students coming from Teso who were trying to access the school. They died under something called a Zaro that time. And immediately we had the Lakwena and so on. So the prayers, the fellowship was the strongest pillar that we had that time.
Okay.
I was later to meet Jacob again. After a long period of time, we would meet. I remember one instance when we had this insecurity in northern Uganda. The 7th Parliament organized the people of Lango and Acholi to go and meet in Lango.
Both of you in that parliament, the 7th parliament?
I wasn't in the 7th.
No, you weren't.
I was in the 8th.
You were in the 8th. Olanya was in the 7th.
But we were working very closely. So the people of Lango came up with a very strong question that why are we not seeing elders here? You are only young people. Because we had people like Mao, I think, Olanya, who is this, Okumo, Reagan and others. Then Mao...
That time, the Professor Latigo hadn't come in yet?
I think Latigo, I don't know whether he was there, but they treated them as the younger generation.
Okay.
And that was the question from the leaders, the clan leaders mostly.
Why do we have
wanted
only the
to meet
young
our, yes. Then Jacob got up in a very clear Lango. He spoke both Lango and Acholi very clear.
That was amazing.
Very
that was
clearly.
So amazing of him.
Yes.
And I actually also discovered that these few days when we were in Larogi for Barrio. And then I could hear people talk about that. He was fluent in Acholi and also very fluent in Lango.
And in Dr. Obote, we thought he was an Acholi. Until we knew some of his relatives who were also Langi.
Okay.
So he was both. Really, he was a blend. We can't claim he's a Lango.
Neither should they claim he's an Acholi. No, he was a Langa Acholi and Ugandan eventually.
Yes. Then he said, you know, they didn't come because they are not there. We are now the ones who are available.
That's what he said?
Yes. And people laughed, and the meeting went on. Yeah, that was Jacob. When we linked up in 8th Parliament, Jacob had already worked with him. You remember 2010, there was a change of mind in northern Uganda. Some of us led that. And we said, if it was because of the insecurity that we were not supporting the government, we are now going to support the government. So we took the initiative to move with the president in many parts of the country.
In 2010, actually, Olanya talks about that, and he said that in his speech when he was, well, I think the first time was elected as deputy speaker.
Yes.
In his speech, that comes out very vehemently and audibly. He talks about that, and he says in 2010, I met you, I just, I think, lost my daughter. He talks about that.
Yes.
He recites that.
So we, that generation, decided, me and Jacob were from the UPC background, the youth of Cecilia Gual. So we decided to take that crusade. It had the risk on both sides. The side where we were coming from did not take it lightly. The side where we had joined in our region also did not like us.
They were suspicious.
No, how? There's a way that it was done that new people were not welcome. So we had this discussion with even some of the well-meaning NRM leaders who said, you people, you are going to lose. Go and contest as independents because you will not get the flag.
From NRM.
NRM will not give you. Even if you get, they may later support the opposition, not you, because they are not happy that you are joining. And that time, when we reached Tororo,
were you also part of the team that met the president in Tororo?
I was already moving with him.
You were already moving,
I was
okay.
already moving with him because I thought we had so many linkages and we needed to tell people why we had made that decision. So I didn't know Jacob had a sick child. Then he told us, he was receiving calls, he told us the daughter wasn't well. I asked him whether he had told the president. He had not. He hadn't. He said, no, you need to let him know. That is the resilience part of Jacob. He was working like he didn't have a problem. In that same team, we had Ambassador Moto, who has just left London. That was our team. And we were together in Dr. Obore College that time. So we made a decision and said, you know, Jacob said, when you make a decision, stand on it. Okay, how do you tell people you are supporting the NRM presidential candidate when you are independent? Why don't you pick the card? Let's go and get the card. Let's
the NRM card. We support the NRM candidature, the NRM candidate, but we also will get the card and go with it.
We go and contest in the primaries. When we fail, we can continue joining the campaign trail and support the president. And we saw a lot of sense in that because we said, how do you, probably they will give you a pot, the Electoral Commission will give you a pot or a bicycle. Will you use that bicycle in the bus? Will you sit with your bicycle in the bus?
Or carry your pot on your head in the bus? Or your radio?
So your radio, listening to the radio in the bus. So fortunately, we went through. Remember, he had tried in the 8th Parliament to go to Yala, and it didn't go through. It was given to, and I don't want to blame the NRM caucus because Dan had been with them for a while. They knew
Chidega.
Dan very well. Yeah.
Dan Chidega.
Dan Chidega. So they gave Dan, and he was left out, but he continued working for peace in northern Uganda. So that's how we got the card and came to Parliament. When we came to Parliament, he showed interest in becoming the Deputy Speaker, and they actually worked together with the Right Honourable Kadaga. They were in the same team, and we supported them. When he became the Deputy Speaker, I would say that he showed us a lot of leadership qualities and even mentorship. He was mentoring even us. That had,
you were with him in Parliament as was the Deputy Speaker.
Yes.
That time you're representing Aleptong?
Yes, that's where I want to recall what stands out for me as the Member of Parliament that time and also the Minister for Northern Uganda. You know, we had just taken back people to the villages. Resettlement process was even still on. So one time I requested him, I had something to put on the agenda items of Parliament. He said, what is it? I explained to him. He said, it's okay, you can bring. But that thing later turned out to be that I did not have enough information as the minister. They didn't give me the true picture of what I was going to present. So before we went to the House, one of the members of Parliament, or opposition members of Member of Parliament, came to me and said, if ever you present this thing, we'll have you for breakfast, break tea, lunch, and dinner, because we have better information than what you have. It was just an item next to mine. I sat in Parliament and I said, can I handle this fire, or I get to his chair and speak to him? I'd written something, I went to his chair and I told him.
You whispered to him?
Yeah, this has been told to me, but I don't know what it is. Then he said, get back and sit. When I sat, he continued chairing, but when we were about to get to that item.
What matter were you handling? What issues were you handling?
Of course, the Northern Uganda issues, you know, what
Uganda,
came out in Northern Uganda. That's why I'm saying it stood out for me, because I was being made to defend something which wasn't correct at that time. But I was convinced with all the write-ups. So he said, I'm suspending the House because members, you are walking in and out, which means you want to have a break. I'm suspending the House for 15 minutes, then we come back.
It was to buy time.
Yes, when
took a break.
Yes, we took a break. He called me to the VIP room, and he asked people to call that Member of Parliament. And I think he had information which had come from different ministries, departments, and agencies. They looked authentic, according to the Speaker. And he told me one thing, Nyahapap. That was the way he called me, and I called him Wataya. Nyahapap means my father's daughter. That is when he wants to refer to me as a sister, and I would say my mother's son. So he said, Nyahapap, this thing, let the sleeping dogs lie. So
don't tamper with it.
Yeah,
Don't
I think it was
issues.
too big, and I didn't
Let
know.
it be.
Yes. So when I got back to the House, he just, I think he had indicated to the clerk to jump that item.
Particular
Then he
item.
said, next item, and the clerk mentioned.
Went to another and actually skipped this.
Then there was point of order, procedure, information, and all that.
Why this was
from
being
the
left
other
out.
side. Then he knew, so he would say, are you giving point of order to the Speaker? What is it that you are doing? Are you giving point of information? I'm well informed.
I am well informed.
Yes. Then somebody just got up and said, procedure. Procedure, you can't put somebody down. Said, there's agenda item that has been jumped by the clerk. He said, but I'm the
Procedure now.
Speaker. I've accepted that we go ahead. That will come later. That's how I survived.
That's how he
And
helped you.
it turned out like, you know, that the processes. But I was going to put on the answered, defending what was not right.
Wow.
So, to me, I don't take that for granted. Then
Because you should have been on our records forever.
Yes.
Yes, the answer doesn't get erased. It will be there
I
forever.
didn't
and
present
over the years, would look at it and say, oh, Mama Rebecca Muge Otenga actually defended a wrong thing.
Then the second thing, as a social worker, somebody who cares about humanity, I would say so, we had a very big burial, and that person was supported heavily by the president right from his sickness. But unfortunately, we lost the person abroad. Somehow the president helped us. That had a very big history, and the body was brought.
Back into the
and
country.
the president asked us to go and represent him with another member of cabinet. I went ahead with the wreath and the president's message, thinking that person would come. The last minute, the person told me he wasn't coming, and I'd already communicated. I picked a phone and called Jacob. I said, Jacob, we have this, and I want you just to advise me. He said, I'm in Nalogi. I have a meeting, but I'm going to drive there.
Where were you burying?
In Lango.
In Lango, okay.
And he arrived.
From Nalogi?
And he took over. This time I had a speaker. The person, when I wanted to call the person later, the phone was now off, so I was left on my own. And it's not simple. In our culture, it's not simple. But he came and took it up. I think he communicated to the president to say the minister has asked me to come and to go and take charge of this, and he did it. Last but not least, he was the one who interviewed me, because Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga said, I'm her referee, so I can't interview her.
When
I became
appointed?
the ambassador.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm her referee, so I cannot.
Rebecca Kadaga was one of your referees?
Yes, she's always been. So then Jacob said, but she's my OB. She's my OG. What do we do? Then she said, I'm the patron of the school she comes from. So for this one, let's deal with what is on the CV, because then they played it. He interviewed me, and you would see him just guiding, what do you think you are going to do? And he actually took that opportunity to tell me what I may get ahead of me.
As an ambassador?
Yeah. When I became the ambassador, you know, I was the chair until recently, but I still remain in the Bureau of Refugees, Returnees, and IDPs. And therefore, the people have a lot of respect and honor for what Uganda has done, especially our president, because we always tell them that the principles that make us keep refugees are about 3 or 4. We have a background because we were also refugees or refugee-producing country. It's because of humanity, which goes beyond Pan-Africanism.
The Ubuntu.
And also Pan-Africanism, because our president says no African must be homeless in Africa. We all belong here, and it's enough for us. So in 2018, we were to come to Uganda, the ministers, the permanent secretaries, and the ambassadors. Amongst other things, they were coming to kind of commemorate the Kampala Convention that had made a decade, and they had come to honor President Yoweri Museveni for the work he has been doing. Foreign Affairs is a very busy ministry. People just don't know. Somehow, all the ministers got engaged because their workplaces are never here. They were not there, and I could not also get the peers. When I went to OPM, the Foreign Affairs tried to get people of OPM. It wasn't very easy. And somehow we did not have even somebody to officially open the meeting. You can imagine. So people were looking at it like, this is not the Uganda we know. But because we explained, our people were busy. Ambassador Kafero stepped in and went and chaired one session, which was very good. And then Commissioner Menya took it up completely and had worked with him in Parliament.
Menya, he's with refugees, yes.
So I explained to him. I decided to find another way. And the president got to Olanya. He had a lot of work to do. He put it off.
Olanya now.
He appeared. When Olanya appears, you know he has appeared. Then he gave the history. I just gave him a very
Short
brief.
Brief facts.
Yeah, exactly. But he made it. He made it. And by the time our people left, the message remains in African Union and member states. The way he presented the case started when he gave all this history, and then himself, how he has been affected, how he worked with the peace process, how we eventually thought for our people to develop, we must get now to work with the government, and now he's the speaker. So he was just trying to tell them that part of the history of Uganda is the broad-based kind of governance brought by the president that you can fit in. And he told them in the cabinet, we have people of all shades. We gave information about Moses Ali, about ourselves,
the old,
and the Buganda kingdom, and he would really explain so well. So the last time I spoke to Jacob was when I saw him moving in northern Uganda, because he was, of course, you remember when he became a SEC member, I was now in the, in diplomacy, but still a member of NEC. So, and the chair of the constituency. So we agreed that this is supposed to be rotational. Remember, in the 9th Parliament, we did not support him. We said, no, we are going to support both of you.
Him and Ngola?
No, when he wanted to become the speaker.
Oh, yes, okay, when he wanted to become the Speaker of Parliament now.
But he told us, no, I've already put my interest, let SEC decide. He used to believe a lot in the processes.
In the processes.
So we said, no, we think you can remain here, and like you had the Honorable Beta Mongi explain, that was the decision we made. And it's somebody you would go to and talk to, two of you, and you see him accepting what you had said, if it made sense, or if he thought it wasn't right, he would also tell you, we can't go this way. So when he became a SEC member, you know, we had 3 sub-regions. I want to call them regions. Karamoja has gone out, Langa, Chole, and West Nile.
The council that we had on Thursday at Lalogi, we were actually proposing to also assimilate and to bring back Karamoja as part of the greater north.
No, for representation purposes, I think it's good. As I conclude, I would say that we looked at many things. This is rotational. We had, as long as we had held it for 10 years, and we needed
that was
now,
during the times of Ngola.
Yes, we had to move it to another region.
Okay.
Because again, in the previous period, I was one of his nominators, but the president harmonized and we did not. I was already walking to the podium to nominate him in Nambole to take, because we were saying this is rotational. So we also looked at having very few slots in SEC as Northern Uganda. So we needed quality representation. We thought we would get it in him. So when I became the minister of the ambassador, he made, when he had the layover, he still visited us and saw the way we are living. So when he moved around, I just called to thank him.
Okay.
And they said, how did you see it? I say, I'm happy the way you are moving, but you had got lost a bit. Then that is when he told me he had not been so well, but the president was handling the situation and he will come out of it.
Okay.
Thank you. He loved his country. He loved his leaders. He loved his people. He loved his God. And I think that's the Jacob I know. And I pray the legacy continues living on.
When do you go back to the mission?
I'm just here, and I'm off to go. I'm ready to go because I just have something small to do at Foreign Affairs, then I can go back.
Okay. Well, we thank you so much for having allowed to give us this time, Honorable Rebecca Mugi Otengo. our ambassador in Ethiopia. We didn't have time to talk about the inclusion and the ascension of the DRC into the East African community, which has now taken a very big shape and course strides. But we think that in one of our Pan-African programs on Friday or on Fridays, we'll be able to get to you, to get through to you via Zoom, also here, because the coming in of the DRC, it is spreading, growing, and eventually we will see ourselves bring in Angola, Zambia, we'll go to Central African Republic, and that's how we'll even continue, bring in Ethiopia, bring in Djibouti, and then little shall we know, Africa will now be one block without East Africa or West Africa or SADC or etc. So, but thank you so much, Mama, for having allowed to join us.
Finally, I would just like to say that Jacob was a unifier. If we are to honor him, we should continue being united. He loved people. We should continue loving ourselves and others. And he loved God. So we should know that in every situation, God still has something to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll stop this here for today. And of course, to just wish you all the best. And telling you we'll continue. But of course, that is the Jacob Olanya that everybody knew in their own way. Mama Muge knows Jacob Olanya from secondary school when they both joined Dr. Obote College in Boroboro. I knew Jacob Olanya as a member of parliament and as a speaker of parliament. And that's all. So I can't pause to say I'll also sit here and deliberate for 20, 30, 40 minutes. Talking about the Jacob Olanya I knew. But we'll listen to all his testimonies, and we continue to say, let the man of God, Jacob Olanya Lokori, rest in glory and rest in peace. Just as King David said when he lost a son, he said, I prayed to God and I thought maybe my son would come back to life. But who knew? When God decided to take the boy, the king said, for I know that where my son has gone is where I will go, but not him to return to me. Similarly, where Olanya went is where all of us shall go, not him returning to us. Let his legacy continue living with us and forever. My name is Jagan Asemakola Ziksoka. Shalom. Thank you, Mama.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development,